Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Good Morning Morocco. I'm Jalal JIHAZI, and in our today's episode, we have a very special guest with us, Miss Emily Gibbons. Miss Emily, good morning.
Good morning, Jalal. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you here today. Thank you very much. Before we can kick off actually our discussion for today, we would like to give the audience a kind of an introduction about you. If you can tell us a little bit. Who's Emily?
Sure. So I'm Irish. So I was born and raised in Ireland. I've lived in Morocco for 20 years. My husband is Moroccan and I have 3 lovely Moroccan children. I work in the education and training industry here in Morocco, following 10 years in industry and 10 years before that in industry in the United Kingdom.
Did you move in directly to the education in Morocco, or how did you became actually an expert into that field?
Yes, no, I didn't. So I actually came to Morocco in 20 years ago this week. So it's my 20th
Happy
year
anniversary.
Oh, thank you so much. So I actually came to Morocco with a UK multinational, and I worked in industry here for more than 10 years in a senior management positions in supply chain, logistics, merchandising functions. And about 11 years ago, the company I was working for, who at the time employed 11,500 people in Morocco and 6 factories around Morocco, they closed all their production units and made everybody redundant. And they moved production to cheaper producing countries in Indonesia, India, China, countries like that. So I then for another year worked for another British multinational actually. And after that, I had kind of made a decision, okay, I've worked in industry for more than 20 years, managing large groups of people in very senior positions. And I made a decision, well, I have 3 children, maybe it's time to be a housewife. So I did that for a very short period of time. I found that I was a better mother by actually being outside the home and working. So I sort of at that time didn't want to go back into industry because it's not easy. In fact, it's not easy. And, somebody said to me, oh, Emily, why don't you teach English? Which, for me was not an option because I didn't have that training or background to be a teacher, and it wasn't something that I was passionate about. And my motto is, no passion, no point. So if you're not passionate about something, there's no point in doing it because you won't do it well. So that wasn't something that I felt attracted to at all. Then very short time later, I was approached by OCP for their what we call the N-1. So they're very senior managers who already spoke English, was a language that they were comfortable with. And they needed, I suppose, what we call today coaching, but that didn't really exist at that time.
Corporate coaching, mainly.
Exactly, corporate coaching or communication coaching. So where, they needed to develop their, what we call the soft skills. They needed to develop their communication skills. They needed to develop their fluency. They needed to develop their critical thinking in English and become much more comfortable. And, with my more than 20 years in industry, it seemed like a good match to me. So, at that point I thought, why not? I'll give it a try. Nothing, as we say, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
Absolutely.
So that's about more than 11 years ago when I started with OCP. And actually, I found my why. I found my reason for working, and I found my passion, and I found something where I was able to give the best of myself and also receive a lot back. So, over a short period of time, I worked with the most senior managers in OCP, with Renault, with Bombardier, with Boeing, etc., etc. And that's how I got into this.
Good.
And it was very much a win-win in that I felt that I was giving a lot and I was receiving a lot back. And I was actually very, very impressed with the quality of the people we have working in senior positions here in Morocco. So that's how I got into doing that. And then I created a company with an American friend of mine who came from a pedagogical background, and we created the company Locus English about 11 years ago, and I've been in the industry since.
I believe that you came with a quite unique offering. Because when you spoke about the OCP coaching, I believe that there are many companies into the country that they take care of doing a lot of soft skills training. Why did they choose you specifically?
I think, well, they chose me, I hope, because of the qualities that I was able to bring, in that I had spent more than 20 years in industry, in senior management positions with multinationals. So I had that international background. Obviously, as a native speaker, it's not a word I like to use because we all have accents, a native speaker, but my background as a senior manager was, on a par with their levels. I could understand where they were coming from. I could understand the frustrations, the challenges, and I could bring the language component as well.
Was it the fact that you brought the mix of the industry understanding and you add to that the English proficiency, basically, and altogether?
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Very good. Very good. Yeah. When you came to Morocco for the first time, I mean, you're talking that your anniversary, it's this week, actually.
Right.
And have you noticed the change in how Morocco evolved? And we speak about English. We are now on English radio. We just launched our programs, and we are talking in English. Yeah. How did you feel that as a person that just moved from outside of Morocco to Morocco? And how do you feel about that?
Well, I actually came to Morocco for the first time in 1990 with my husband on our honeymoon. So I first came in 1990. So you can imagine we're now in 2022. So that's 32 years ago.
Yep.
And the change has been enormous. It's been totally transformed. And especially I would say in the last 20 years, probably in the last 12, 13, 14 really, but we could see change maybe from the early 2000s. Yep. That's when I first started to see changes in infrastructure, for example.
I think we should link it to His Majesty King Mohammed VI taking over in the year of 1999. That's where all the evolution started into the country.
Absolutely. And, for example, when I first started in this industry 11, 12 years ago, the need was very much for English. We were just starting into the automotive, the aeronautic, big pharma, renewable energies. That was just all. It was all starting. So it was very much at the beginning. We still very much, where the market was very much French speaking. Our biggest customers were in France. So it was still very much that environment. And if you like, it was just big companies like OCP, for example, that were sort of that international feel. Whereas I feel it all kind of started about 12, 13 years ago when the automotive and its ecosystem all started, and the aeronautics with Matisse Aerospace before that. And, the change since then has been transformational, and when we started, it was very much English and it was very much business English. That was demand, that was the need. The competencies were extremely low. And if we come back now 11 years later, through social media, through TikTok, through Instagram, through Netflix, more and more people are speaking English, and the younger generations are extremely fluent. And in terms of their accent, their fluency, their knowledge, it's really incredible. And so you have your generation, your younger generation, your teens. There's no problem. There's no problem for them for English. They're extremely fluent. Then you have your 20-somethings who are speaking English, and they're quite good. Good enough. But what they're lacking is the soft skills. So they're lacking soft skills and how to work. The skills you need to work, to collaborate, to communicate in the workplace. So they need those sort of soft skills and still improvements in English. So the needs have changed. They've very much changed since I started Locus English 11 years ago. They've very much changed. So I've seen huge changes, and in terms of industry and infrastructure. It's amazing, really, and Morocco's really on the right path. And
do you feel that Morocco is trying to achieve two key elements together at the same time? Is first building the people's competencies, and at the same time adding one additional layer, which is the language, which English, as we know it, as the international language. When you speak to those companies, where do you see the priority is the most?
I would absolutely say that it's both of them are critical priorities.
Do they work on both of them at the same time?
Yeah, they're working on both of them at the same time. They go hand in hand. They absolutely go hand in hand.
Yep.
One without the other,
Yep.
there's something missing.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
so they're very complementary.
Yep.
They're very complementary. I mean, for me, English, for example, if you're working for a company and you're working with the cross cultures,
Yep.
and you're given a presentation,
Yep.
you need to, and you're given the presentation in English.
Yep.
So firstly, you need the English skills. You also need the skills how to give a presentation.
Absolutely.
So they're very much, in my opinion, they're very much combined. They
Yep.
go together.
Yeah.
They absolutely go together, and companies are seeing that, and they're working on both of them together. And in fact, where our evolution as a company has come, we're now able to, when we started the company in, let's say, 11 years ago, it was very much English and business English communication. Today, in English and soft skills, we are now delivering business English. We're delivering communication training. We're delivering soft skills training. We're delivering influence and communication for C-level executives. We're delivering leadership. We're delivering team building, and we're delivering management training.
Yep. Yep.
That's a huge shift from
Yep.
where the demand was
Yep.
for business English
Yep.
to where English and soft skills is today,
Yep.
teaching leadership and management modules.
Yep.
It's a huge shift.
Do you think that the companies are now more aware of the key standards happening around the globe? I'm talking about Moroccan companies mainly. Are they like learning from the international experiences, or the fact that big groups are coming and opening their branches or their factories into Morocco and bringing back that culture into Morocco? Is this the key factor, or is it Moroccan national companies trying to adjust and trying to adopt some of the international standards to meet the multinational corporate standards, basically?
That's a good question. I think it's a mixture of both, and I think you'll find that because we have large multinationals here in Morocco, and you may have worked for a Moroccan company and then you join, or a French company, and then you join an American or an international company, and you'll see that they were very advanced in terms of their leadership and development and soft skills and training. They were sort of part of the culture from whenever.
Yep.
And we're sort of we're catching up. We're catching up. But, we have a lot of competencies and a lot of skills that people have here, and maybe they weren't in the corporate environment, but once they got the experience with the multinationals, it became part of the culture. It became part of the working culture here. So to answer your question, it's, very much something that's come from American culture, if you like, and it's fed its way in. So today it's part of every company's culture.
So you believe that it's becoming now more proactive. So companies are trying to build those skills and prepare those people prior to take a product to the market or be capable of talking to international markets. Or it's the other way around, is the markets actually the international collaboration or feeling those obstacles when they try to deal with international markets, that I should take my C-level people to this certain level of both soft skills and English to be capable of achieving my targets. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. If they don't have those skills, then there's no point taking it to the market, because it'll fail, because it's all about communication. It's all about leadership. It's all about inspiring people. It's about motivating people. And if you don't have the skills to do that, then you're going to fail. So it's very much understood that these skills have to be in place before we could even lead our teams anymore, before we can even try to market a product. It's the way it is, it's just a necessity. It's not a desire. It's actually a necessity.
It's a must.
It's a must
to have.
It's an absolute must to have. And that's understood. I mean, we're working with the leading national and multinational companies in Morocco, in Casablanca, in Rabat, in Kenitra, in Tangier. So we're working with all of these companies, and for them to be competitive, for them to get new business, for them to lead their people, it's something that's a must. So it's not a we'd like to have. We must have.
We must have it.
We must have it. Yeah.
I think your story is quite interesting, and I'm sure you will add some value into that, Emily. The fact that you've been here for so long, you would definitely have a different view than someone who just actually moved to the country for the last 5 years as a foreigner. You experienced basically the pre and the post in terms of the changes. And my question is going to the fact that how do you feel the leadership change in terms of building their competencies internally? I mean, I'm not talking only about the C-level and the managerial level, because that's something that used to happen, I believe, from the past. Moving all the way down, from the top to the bottom, is Morocco changing? Are they trying to develop the whole skills? Is there personal development plan for those people? Like, what's going on? You experienced the changes, I believe.
Yeah. No, we're working with some Moroccan national companies, some old companies who would be quite traditional, and they'd be working different generations. We're working with some companies who've got maybe 3 generations working in the company, so that's a challenge as well. And we're working with companies who are transforming from French speaking to English speaking all the way through. And it's a realization that we cannot just focus on your C-level or your very senior managers, which would have been the traditional investment. That would have been the investment. We can work with companies and they might have 2,000 employees and they're paying for communication training for 20 people. But we've seen the change, and it has to come from the top down. Firstly, it has to come from the top down in terms of endorsement, in terms of encouragement, in terms of an investment, in terms of a willingness. But what we're seeing now is a realization that you have to give the training, you have to invest in the whole system, the whole ecosystem inside the company as well. So more and more companies are investing, in the language, in the communication, in the personal development, in the succession planning, in the well-being. In fact, well-being is becoming a very important aspect as well, especially post-COVID, where companies are now, I would say, caring more about the well-being, and there's a lot of investment going into happiness at work, mental well-being, taking care of the employees, and they're doing that through the medium of English as well. So it's all the way through the organizations, and people need to know where they're going. And there's there's a lot of investment in people are putting in place the L&D departments, the well-being departments, and sort of have to plan for the whole company. So definitely there's a transformation in that sense. I think just even a few years ago, the idea of, planning or succession planning or personal development planning or, valuable annual assessments for all the way through the company would not have been done. So it's changing, but, things don't change overnight. Your big companies are very invested in that, and they see the return on investment. They see the added value.
Very good.
But we still have a lot of work to do all the way through the system. But there's definitely big changes.
My question to you, Emily, will be related to how your approach is done with companies. I believe that when a company actually requests your service and they come to you to actually respond to a specific service, you will have different stakeholders within the organization. How do you work internally to respond to every single stakeholder? What's your approach internally within the companies?
Well, first I'll tell you that we are not a language center, so we're not a classical organization. I've also never had a salesperson, so we're in a position where our reputation and our services come from people who have actually called us because of recommendations, word of mouth, etc., and people who move on from one company, they move to another, they need language training or they need coaching, they will hopefully call us, and they do. In terms of our approach, we have a number of different programs. Okay, so again, if you're having a C-level executive, he will more than likely want our program, which is called Influence and Communication for C-levels. We get called, it might be for team building. So I think we have developed at English and Soft Skills, we've developed the programs to meet each caliber, if you like, or each level within an organization. Also, what we do very differently is before anything happens, we will have meetings. We'll have what we call needs analysis, pedagogical meetings in advance of anything happening. So we'll go in and we will interview, we will meet, we will talk to understand really, because sometimes somebody doesn't actually really know what they want until
absolutely.
You have a good discussion. Somebody say, oh, we want business English, and then you go in and you speak to the person and you understand, okay, what are your needs? I often see us as, if you take for C-levels, I see us as doctors, okay, in that you have a pain. Tell me what's your pain, and we will sort your pain. We will sort your pain out. So it's very much tailor-made. Our programs are tailor-made. We do not have a course book. We will not sort of lift something off the shelf because every person is different. Every group is different. And our approach is very different in the sense that it's not a classical approach where, one program fits all. It doesn't. So every group is different. Every individual is different. So we will tailor make around the needs of the specific group or the specific person. We have, as I said, we have the programs for team building. We got the programs for the leadership. We got the programs for management. So everybody's different.
Okay.
So it has to be unique.
Okay.
It has to be unique. And is our approach different for C-levels, for groups? Then yes, it's different because their needs are different.
Okay.
And we adapt to the needs of the client.
Okay. So you take care first, if I really understood well your point, you take care of realigning the expectations, because sometimes your client, as you mentioned, they don't know what hurts exactly. You could be going for, basic negotiation skills, but you find that it's deep, that you need first probably to do a proper team building between the team prior to go to something else with an internal team. And you don't have a set program. So that means you custom made their competency development. What are the deliverables that you do? So once you do that and it's done in a specific organization, do you give an end of mission report? Do you come back and reevaluate the impact of your action? How does it work post action, basically? Totally,
and it's very important. So if we take in a company where we're doing group classes of, let's say, business English communication within a company, before any classes happen, we will meet with the human resources or the L&D department. We will discuss their objectives. What are the outcomes that you want for your group? Because it's not just enough for us to send a teacher. We have to understand what are the outcomes. So that's the first step. It's what are the outcomes that you require. We deliver, attendance reports weekly. We deliver pedagogical reports monthly. Every month we deliver a pedagogical report on what's happened in the previous month, where we see some gaps. We will do after 3 sessions, we send through a feedback form, so we're getting immediate feedback. We will do mid-level, mid-session testing, which is reported back. At the end of the sessions, we will do end-of-session testing, end-of-session feedback. We will meet with the HR and training manager regularly throughout the program, and we will give our feedback on that. So it's very important for us that we have very close relationships with the training and HR managers. It's always been my belief that it's not enough to get an order. It's great, we work very hard to get the order, but that's not enough. And unless we're maintaining quality, unless we're maintaining relationships, unless we're maintaining communication, then we won't have a business. In terms of let's say your one-to-one coaching classes, it is coaching, which means that, the responsibility has to come on to the coachee as well. And it's very much a shared journey. It's very much tailor-made. It's very much on what are your needs now, and we work on it together. So it's constantly changing, constantly rolling, and there's constant feedback. It's the nature of the business as well. So there's constant feedback, there's constant exchanges, there's constant meetings with the HR and training managers. We training, always developing our team of teachers, coaches, facilitators. Our approach is very different to Actually, I don't see us having a competitor out there, really. I think we're very niche. We're very focused on professional development. We're very focused on the person. So we're very centered. It's all client-centered. It's all student-centered. It's all participant-centered. So we're very focused on that. The team that works with us, we work very hard on giving them continuous training, very working on their personal development as well. So there's a lot of awareness. It's not enough to be a teacher. Yeah. Okay, a teacher will teach.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're not teachers. Time's moved on. We don't need teachers. Yeah. People need to communicate. You go in and you meet a group or you meet an individual. They'll tell you, Emily, I don't speak English, and you'll speak for an hour because they haven't had the opportunity. They haven't had the confidence. So people want to communicate. Okay, they want to communicate. And we provide the opportunities for that. But we're very much caring. We care about the person. So it's very much, we care about the people that we're working with. So that's very important for us.
That's good. That's good to hear, Emily. If I try to rely on my personal experience, and I faced that in the past, when it comes to people development, when you have a specific need from a specific client, their expectation is like the magic pill.
Yeah.
Is basically they said, well, you know what? We will call Emily Gibbons. She will come on her team and she will fix this now. How do you explain to them that change takes time? I believe that's in language, in English in general. That's understood because we understand that within English we have the beginners, the intermediate, and we're moving up. But when it comes to corporate training and soft skills, and especially they call you for a specific need, sometimes the management, they believe that they can bring a specialist. He will come with a magic pill. He will actually put the right ingredients and changes will happen now, which is not all the time the case, because I believe there are other things should be done internally. Post that. I mean, you can teach them how to drive, but you cannot ensure that they will be driving safely afterwards. So how do you do that? How do you explain that to your clients, and how do you deal with it?
I think if we're being realistic, people do understand, and many of them will have been through the journey, and they do know that it's not immediate. We target the training. So if we target the training, so, instead of somebody might come and say, I want to speak English, I want to speak it fluently. Well, and I know, and they know that that's not going to happen, or they want to learn skill, that's not going to happen. So we have to maybe break it down into chunks. Okay, so you want to go from A to Z, but that we got to break it down. Let's put it into chunks. Let's focus on where is your problem? Where is your big problem at this moment? Okay, well, I've got a meeting coming up in 3 weeks' time. I need to give a presentation. Okay, so that's our first task.
Yeah.
How long is it going to take us? And then we put in measurables in place. And what we also do is we put a responsibility back. It has to be, okay, you want this from me. I can take my part of it, and we'll take our part. What are you going to do?
Absolutely.
Okay, what are you going to do on your drive? It takes you an hour to go home. What are you going to do? Could you listen to a podcast? Yeah. Are you going to read an article this week?
Yeah.
Are you going to watch a TED Talk? What are you going to do? So the more engaged everybody is, the quicker we can get there. The quicker we can get there. So it's a shared journey. We set out quite clearly, this is potentially how long this is going to take. So it's awareness as well, and making people know from the beginning. But again, you got to be committed. You got to turn up. If you want to learn something and you're cancelling every single session, then it's going to take you that much longer.
Exactly.
So it's a shared journey. It's making awareness. That,
and showing the engagement as well from top to bottom.
It has to be.
Everyone is engaged.
Everybody has to be engaged. So it's a shared journey. We take our responsibility in it as well. But it's just setting out achievable. Let's put in achievable targets and let's go for them. And you build on that. Rome wasn't built in a day, as we say.
Yeah, exactly. My other question will come to you as well, Emily, is when you go to the clients, I believe that you go with a couple of elements, and your key asset is two things, I believe. You have your intellectual property, which is you as a person, all your experience and everything that you have behind you. And on the other side, you have your human capital and the coaches and trainers and everything else. And I think that's a big and important component into your organization.
Absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about that? How is it structured? Who are your coaches? How do you guys work?
Wonderful. Well, the one thing I'll always say, and I'll say to everybody, and I say to my team as well, I'm only as good as the people. I'm only as good as the people who I have working for me, and if they're not good, then it reflects on me. And you know, when you're an entrepreneur and you run your own company, it's personal.
Yeah,
it's very personal. And I'm very involved in the business and very close to the team and close to the clients because I take it personally. It means a lot to me. I'm very passionate about it. I'm very I want to see people succeed. I care about people, and I care about Moroccan people. My husband's Moroccan, my family are Moroccan, so I'm invested in Morocco. I'm not just passing through. So I care. I care about every single person that comes through. We care about their journey. In terms of the trainers and teachers, we have different profiles for the different products. So we have teachers who teach because when you've got certain levels, they need foundations.
Yep.
You need to build foundations. So we have very good teachers who teach excellent business English communication programs. And for all of these teachers as well, they're not just teachers in the classical sense. We don't see ourselves as teachers. We see ourselves as motivators. We're facilitators. We're inspirers. We're not teachers in the classic sense. I prefer not to work with teachers in the classic sense purely because we have to develop people and the teachers do that. So we have teachers who teach business English communications. We've got teachers who have developed soft skills, so who are able to teach in the classical sense plus develop the soft skills communication. We have coaches. Now our coaches are very, very interesting people because these are people who come from industrial backgrounds or financial backgrounds or backgrounds relevant to the client's needs. So they've got the pedagogical element, they've got the educational element. Many of them are MBA holders. They've got the international experience, they've got the language capacity, and they bring huge amount of experience to the client. So they are our coaches. And then we've got for our leadership and management, for our leadership and management programs, we need people who are experts and expertly trained in leadership and management. And what's very interesting, Jalal, is that we have wonderful, highly qualified, competent people here in Morocco who have trained in America or trained in these great leadership and management programs, who've got the linguistic skills and who've got the expertise in leadership and management, and we're working in collaboration with them because, for us, I can take a training program off a shelf, and I can, learn the content and learn it and deliver it. But if you're not an expert in what you're doing, if it's not part of your DNA, if you don't really understand or you haven't lived it,
then or you bring, for example, for a leader's training, you bring someone who already actually led a specific organization, and he talks from experience.
Exactly,
it's credibility basically for your organization.
Exactly. So it's not just enough to be able to deliver a training. You've got to have lived it. It's got to be part of your DNA. And for all the way through all the different programs that we have at English and Soft Skills, we have the right experts for every single program. Team building, leadership, management, communication, influence and communication for C-level executives, business English communication, soft skills. So every single program that we deliver has got unique trainers with the right backgrounds and qualifications to deliver those. And I think that makes us unique. I think we're a very unique and niche organization in Morocco. I don't think there's anybody else like us, and certainly there's nobody as passionate as our company.
That's very good to hear. I thank you really for highlighting one very important point, is the human capital into this country. And when we speak about the capital of people in here, now it keeps coming back into my shows, when we speak to the guests, and we spoke as well to some people that they are bringing investors, and they said they talk to them, and what are the elements that you are putting your investment based in? Well, they say, the safety of the country. And probably the second thing that comes into this is we have good, competent and skilled people into the country. And I think that's something that we should really mention to our audience today, that Morocco completely changed, and even the academic way is changing. And before, we used to actually have people taking curriculums, then they all go with a specific standard degree. Now we see that everything is getting adjusted. We have, for example, OFPPT that trains people in a specific area. We have OFPPT for aeronautic. We have it for automotive. So for people for automotive. So we are, the country is close to understanding the employment needs and trying to adjust to that. The gap that we discussed earlier was more about, the gap between the curriculum or the academic curriculum and the work requirement. Do you still feel that into the country, Emily? The gap between the academic and the professional when someone just graduates and goes to the work field, for example?
Definitely. I think definitely. And I'm not an expert in this, and I obviously am not recruiting people to come and work in multinational or in industrial companies. But from my feedback and from what I know, I think we're still very far away from having the right quality and the right competences. And what I've seen, and I could be wrong, but what I've seen is that, today everybody has the right to have a degree or have a diploma, but we're not teaching them the right things. We're not teaching them how to be part of a team, how to communicate, how to collaborate, how to have, adaptability, have critical thinking, how to manage your time, just basic stuff. So we're teaching them what's, I suppose, classically called the hard skills, but maybe not even enough of that, and not enough on the soft skills, on being a good worker, being a good colleague, collaboration.
Absolutely.
So we're absolutely, totally lacking on that. That's a definite. And you speak to any company recruiting, that's their biggest challenge. And we spoke earlier, but we used about, you've got two people and they come in with exactly the same CV, or you got one person who's gone to one of the best schools and their profile is amazing, and then you've got somebody who's maybe doesn't have the same degree, but they've got great interpersonal skills.
Absolutely.
Now, which would you go for? I would go for the person with the interpersonal skills.
Absolutely.
But we're still very focused on, where their degree came from and their level of education.
Absolutely.
And we don't check them out for their human skills, what we call the human or their social skills, which at the end of the day is you can train people.
Exactly.
Okay, you can train people.
People can learn.
People can learn.
That's
okay,
the thing.
People can learn.
You should believe in them. Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
but we really have to incorporate into the education system the human skills.
Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
My next question to you, Emily, is regarding your personal and professional plans. What are your plans for the next coming years? Let's say 3, 5, 10 years.
Ooh. Well, on a personal level, I'm what we call today an empty nester, which means that my children no longer live at home. They've all grown up, got married, or moved abroad for study purposes. So at home, there's just myself and my husband now. So that's for the first time in 27 years that we've been back together. So we'll probably spend some more time traveling together and, I suppose, reconnecting, if you like, because, we've been married, 33 years. Our eldest child is 27. So, we'll probably spend some more quality time together. So that's on a personal level. And I hope to take up some yoga and Pilates and all of these things that a woman of my age is supposed to be doing. So I'll do that. On a professional level, I see us consolidating our position here in Morocco and continuing to work with the clients that we want to work with, that we enjoy working with. And we're also getting a lot of requests from our partners who are in Morocco but are in Africa, are expanding into what we call sub-Saharan Africa. Yeah. So I definitely see us, and in fact we've started working with clients who have branches, if you like, or have offices in Senegal, in Ghana, in the Ivory Coast, and they've asked us to do training for them, so do communication training, do recruitment testing. So we also, for companies who are recruiting, we also do testing. So we will test the English level for new recruits. We also do Spanish and Italian and Dutch for a company as well. So I see us expanding into Africa. But our growth or an expansion will be, at a speed and at a level that continues to be manageable, continues to be enjoyable. For me, a work-life balance is very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, even if I have more time on my hands now that the kids are gone, it's always been important for me from the beginning that I have to be happy.
Yeah,
I have to be,
absolutely.
as we say in Morocco, I have to be able to sleep on my right-hand side.
Absolutely.
And that's always been important. So I think that's why we've always been a little bit selective about the clients that we work with, because, I didn't get into this for stress. I didn't get into this to be, awake at night. I got into this because I'm passionate about it. I love a challenge. So while it continues to be a challenge, we will grow at a rhythm and at a pace that matches that.
Absolutely.
But I want to go to work every day, be happy. I want to go home and be happy, and I want the team to be happy. So continuing to keep a nice balance. But professional growth is important for me, and we will expand at a nice pace.
Well, Emily, thank you very much for coming today to the studio for this morning session.
It's a pleasure.
And for really the contribution regarding the people development and the corporate developments in Morocco. It was really a pleasure talking to you about the details about this country. Before we end our today's session, just give a reminder to our audience regarding how they can probably get in touch with you if they are interested about your service, because your services are so valuable.
Thank you. And thank you for having me, Jalal, and best of luck with Morocco English Radio. I think it's invaluable. I think we absolutely need this right now.
Thank you very much.
And I think it'll be great. It'll be great. So you can if anybody wants to contact me personally, I'm Emily Gibbons. I'm on LinkedIn. The company is English and Soft Skills. We are based at Casanare Shore, just outside Casanare Shore. And our website is www.englishandsoftskills.ma. And our phone number is, I have no idea, but you'll find us.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll find us.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Emily. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This was Good Morning Morocco with Emily Gibbons. Please stay tuned with us. After the music break, we'll come back with the rest of the programs.